And I turned around, and there he is getting up off of the ground, holding his face, saying, "I'm suing." We've said it before, and it holds true, of course, that when we tell stories about being in showbiz, everyone wants to know the horror stories.
Yep.
The industry term for that is hell gigs. And we entertain those all the time on this little project of ours. In fact, we have a whole series about them.
Yep.
Because they're inevitable. And the longer you are in this business, unfortunately, they're going to happen, and you'll have stories. But
why is that?
Why? I don't know. I mean, it's I guess the same reason that the older I get, the more friends I survive, which I don't want to, but it's going to happen, right? So we're lucky that we get to be in the business or alive long enough to have hell gig stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
We hope this is a return visit for you. If it is not, I will introduce myself. My name is Phelyx. I am a mentalist. I travel around the country doing that sort of thing. This is my partner, Athena, former Las Vegas showgirl. And this is a project we put together a couple of years ago, 60 episodes or so ago. And this is
51.
51. Well, by the time this airs,
51.
I guess, 51. All right. It feels like 100. No.
Wow.
Actually, no, it's
that
fun.
bad, huh?
I enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We created this podcast to inspire other people to keep dreaming and enjoy this one big caper we call life.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this is one of the special episodes, as I alluded to, and this is seasonally appropriate because we have horror stories about Halloween time gigs, Halloween time shows, or events. Which one of us should go first?
I'll start because mine isn't really that involved.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was my first time headlining for a burlesque show. And of course, my creepy doll act was requested because that was everyone's favorite of mine. I don't know why. Because I was on point. I was a creepy doll. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if there's any videos out there of that act on stage. But anyway, it's a striptease act, and I was dressed as a doll. Creepy doll, to be exact. And so that kind of was that. I made a lot of money with that act.
It's not a blood and gore act. It's creepy because of your eye covers, right?
Yeah.
That part of your outfit.
Yeah. Oh, here's a picture. So when I did burlesque, I did not do the gore, even though the zombie burlesque show was. So I think they called it zombie-lesque, was the reason I started doing burlesque in the first place. But I'm not a blood and gore kind of person. I will not watch horror films. So I did just a cutesy, creepy act for the Halloween shows every year. And that's where you made a lot of money as a burlesque performer. So back to my story. I was headlining at a show at the, well, it doesn't matter where, but it was a big stage and a very big theater, probably sat 500, 550, is that what we learned?
I think
later?
that's, close to cap, yeah.
Full house, and it was one show. And, of course, I think it was like probably the lowest he's ever paid a headliner, this particular producer, because I was the first kind of to do a real headlining show there. And, it was my creepy doll act, which I knew everyone wanted to see and loved. And then I had just created a new act that wasn't really horror. It wasn't really scary. It was kind of like dry humor kind of thing. I don't think anyone got it. It's supposed to be disturbing more than anything. And that's what this story is about. I created that act the year that we had our first hug, which it was 8 years ago. Our special hug that brought us together. I don't know if we've ever told that story. Maybe we should someday. So I brought this new-ish act. I had only performed it a handful of times, but it was kind of creepy. Again, I didn't do horror and gross and scary. I did creepy. And so I thought it would be funny to have an act specifically just specific songs because it was created for a show that called The British Invasion, and I had to use songs from the artists responsible for the British Invasion. So I really love Tom Jones. I think his music is funny. It's fun to listen to, but I thought, okay, how can I do Tom Jones song that's kind of creepy? I thought of Edward Scissorhands and that whole scene uh, where he's whatever assaulted by what's her name, Pig Bundy, actress. Anyway, with these hands, and I thought, how can I do an act to that song? And because I knew the next month I was headlining, I created this creepy act. So basically, I had zombie hands that used to be my lover's hands, and I did this silly horror act in my gorgeous, like, gazella glam uh, classic burlesque costume. So I multi-purposed that act. The only thing I made was the hands. Anyway, actually I didn't make the hands, I bought the hands. Long story short, I was headlining the show. And when you headline a show, you close the sets before the intermission and you close the show. And so I was closing the first set with my new-ish Halloween act, which was hands. And I'm wearing 4-inch stilettos, spike heels, and long, flowy, gorgeous panel skirt. And the girl, was it girl? Somebody before me, I believe was a fire eater, had left all of their oil all over the stage. And I didn't know it because I was backstage preparing, getting mentally prepared. And I had no clue that the person ahead of me had basically made the stage a complete disaster for me to perform on. And so I'm doing my thing. I'm in character, being sad that my lover is gone, but I have his hands. And I was walking, and all of a sudden I felt, when I took a step, I felt the stage move underneath me. And then I looked down and I saw puddles of what looked like water, but it was actually, as far as I know, oil or something, because it's some sort of thing that they use as fire eaters. I thought they just used alcohol and that's supposed to evaporate, but this was not evaporating. It was staying on the surface of the stage. And so I slipped, and it's not really noticeable in the video. I did watch it and I was just like, oh my God, that's where I almost fell. I almost completely bit it on stage. And so to me, that was a horror story because I had no idea what I was walking into when I got on that stage. And that was really unfortunate. And we talk about in our professionalism video, and we did another video about, like, don't stink up the stage before the next set, be responsible. And some burlesque places will not allow you to do confetti cannons or anything like that because somebody could get hurt.
Yeah, there's a rule about even having glassware on stage. If you're drinking, it must be a plastic vessel.
Yeah.
For that reason. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I had no idea until I got off, and I was like, what happened? Like, why did I slip? And he told me, he's like, you didn't know? And I was like, no, I had no idea that anything had gone wrong. He said, they're wiping it up now. I'm like, why didn't they wipe it up before my act? I was the headliner. That would have been probably the most embarrassing if I had actually fallen. I didn't.
Could have been a disaster.
Yeah, I could have hurt myself really bad.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Embarrassing.
Well, yeah.
These horrible tales, these hell gig stories, are what in One Big Caper world we would call juicy bits. So that's why they're kind of bonus, because these are the juicy bits that people want to know about. But a couple of technical notes. There are 3 people at fault.
Okay.
For creating that hazard on your stage.
Oh.
One is the performer, of course. They were sloppy.
Yeah.
Or they didn't design into their act ways to keep the stage safe from their act. So the other is the producer for scheduling that act or putting that act in the bill right ahead of yours.
Yeah.
Without some kind of MC bit in the middle to take up the time for a kitten who was the third person at fault to come out and clean that up.
Clean it
So
up, yeah.
the kitten is in the burlesque world, kind of a stage assistant who is responsible for management of the stage and keeping it safe and cleaning up costume bits or burlesque droppings, as they say. Just cleaning all that off, especially between acts. So there are three people at fault for creating that hazard, and that could have been a much more horrible story. So I'm glad that all's well that ends well, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I had situations like that in the show in Jubilee, where the smoke machine got a little overzealous, and there were pools of water collected on the stage, and the stagehands did their best to clean it up. It was dark when they were doing the set changes, but it occasionally happened. But we would all warn each other. Nobody warned me. No one told me a thing until after. So, like, if I would have known, I would have looked at the stage. I would have done a glance just to make sure I knew what was going on and where to beware of. But so I hate to point fingers, but I think that was my last show there. That was my last show with that producer and on that stage.
Same venue. I know another performer, a variety performer, who will not ever perform in that venue because of safety reasons.
Oh, right. We did Creme Deluxe after that. And they had a really cool dressing room up above the stage. The only dressing room actually in the theater. The other dressing rooms are in a building across the street. This is like a bonus juicy bit. And they were like, oh, you can put the headliner up there. And I'm like, she's going to break her neck walking up or down those stairs that are probably as old as the theater, 100 some years old.
It's closed now. Nobody's allowed up there.
Oh, that section.
Because it's treacherous.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure people still go up there to smoke their bowls. Because
you're not supposed to go up there now because it's dangerous.
I wish I had footage of that.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time up there.
So
is that volley it to me?
Yeah, I guess. I'm sorry. That was kind of a stinker story.
No, not really.
No?
I mean, that has a nice relationship with other things that we've talked about on this show. So
yeah.
I was reminded of mine by you because we go through all these different things and I forget. And this one goes back so far in my own career that it's still a story, and I haven't completely forgotten it, of course, but it's been trumped by so many other experiences. But we're going to go back to baby performer me.
baby
yeah,
Phelyx.
I was 18, I think. I was 18, and it was an early paying gig. I was I think still in high school.
What?
Barely still in high school, but I was a friend of mine who had partnered with me on a couple other shows, and we used to go out and perform on Pearl Street in Boulder together and did some things. Came to me and he said, there's a Halloween party at an apartment complex. They're all getting together in the, whatever you call it, community room. And they're having a party, costume party. We've been booked. Okay.
Great.
Sure. So what they wanted was kind of a 20 to 30 minute stage show and then interactive close-up. So Jeff and I, we're going to get together on stage and present kind of a formal show, and that way we don't have to introduce ourselves to everybody in the crowd, and then we would split up and go entertain people, smaller groups at a time, 4 at a time generally. And I had, there was a person invited for the last act in the stage part, invited up to the stage to cinch a straitjacket on my partner, and I'm doing this motion because the last part of the straitjacket is a strap that goes between the legs and up the back and buckles in the center of the back. And so she was asked to cinch that one, and there's all kinds of jokes. Some of them I hope are gone forever, but we're going back to pre-internet times when saber-toothed cats roamed the earth. And so there were a lot of off-color jokes and that kind of thing. And he had this person cinch this buckle and get him in good and tight. And yeah, he did the escape. So then we broke off, and I went and found a group of people who were kind of in the back, and the wallflowers of the whole party, and I was entertaining them, and they, true to their name that I gave them, stuck around with their backs against the wall, right? So I had my back to the whole party, and I was in the middle of a routine for somebody, and they interrupted me and said, "Someone just punched your partner." And I turned around, and there he is getting up off of the ground, holding his face, saying, "I'm suing." We're not going to get paid for this gig, are we? That's my first thought.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. He found the same person who was the volunteer for getting him into the straitjacket, and made some additional misogynistic jokes. And her husband, who was dressed as a clown, came over and defended her honor with his right hand and knocked my partner to the ground, breaking his nose. He spent the rest of the evening in the hospital, and I went home without a paycheck. But a story that I'm telling however many years later now. How many years? Oh my gosh, it's been a long time.
You want me to do
It's
that?
been like 32 years.
4.
34 years? Oh, 34 years. Yeah, 34 years ago, the story goes. Wow. Goodness. Yeah.
I was 10.
Thanks for that. So yes, that's a horror story, and an avoidable story. Certainly a righteous story given the new climate, and how some of these disgusting jokes that I didn't particularly care for them at the time. The way I was taught to perform magic back in the 1970s and 80s, I was handed all of that humor from people who learned it when it was invented in the 1930s, when everything was different, not excusably so, but very different nonetheless.
Yeah.
And one of the major reasons that I would never go back in time, given the option, I wouldn't go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. They were gross. People were disgusting back then. Not that they're much better now.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
You didn't get paid.
Oh, definitely did not get paid. I never received a check for that event, and certainly, fortunately, one of very few events that I ever had to help uphold my money back guarantee.
Oh, all right.
Yep. I'll tell another story about my money back guarantee in a future Hell Gig story.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, there's a teaser for a juicy bit another time.
I'm really curious about this one. Wow.
Yeah, I think it's the only time I had to hold up my guarantee the way it's written in the contract.
Oh, okay.
If you're not satisfied, absolutely don't have to pay me. Yep.
Huh. You don't get that now very much. Wow.
Yeah.
So, did you ever perform with this dude again?
No, that was our last show together. In fact, he never performed again.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he found the error of his ways, and good he's not a performer.
He's stopped being a magician and a mime and all the different things that he explored as a younger person. He quit altogether, I believe. Somehow I stuck in there, but I didn't get my nose broken.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have anyway. I didn't make those kinds of jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the same age as you?
A little bit older.
Okay.
A couple of years.
I was going to say.
It mattered when I was 18, but like not a big difference now.
Well, yeah, but if you think about, like, so if he was 20 or 21, like.
Right.
Good thing he learned his lesson early. I don't know. What does he do now? Do you know?
Yes. He's I'm not going to say. I do know he came to see one of my shows a few years ago.
Okay.
I would say as many as 6 or 7 years ago. He popped in and surprised me in the audience. We hadn't seen each other, so that was a big surprise. And we got re-familiar with each other, cursory, surface level kind of conversation, and that's about it. Okay. He was proud to see that I still entertained and that I changed and evolved and got better.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, this is back in the day. I'm gonna take a picture or scan this document. I showed it to you. It's in one of those old punk rocker magazines I was sharing with one of the kids
Okay.
the other night. But it is a document that I had to have my parents fill out so that I could
Oh.
perform in bars in the 80s. And it works. I mean, it was absolutely acceptable. It essentially indemnified an alcohol serving venue and allowed you as a minor to perform in a bar.
Well, should we close this episode? Do you have anything else? I don't have anything else. I just will be rambling if I tell any more stories. I feel very rambly today.
Now that story is on record, I never have to tell it again.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll come up.
He told me, like, and I was like, oh my God, when he told me that story. And so I was telling him, I don't know, it was the other day when I was like, oh, we're filming this week. Do you have a Halloween Hell Gig story? And then he's like, no. And I was like, yeah, you do.
There's that one.
There's that one. As always, you can comment below with any questions or suggestions for future episodes and reach us at hello@onebigcaper.com. And we will see you next month. We're going to be talking about some performer things, as usual. Performers and money. How's that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.